This quiet and new lung area in the heart of India's capital city houses someone very special in his approach to life. Someone very unique in his style of lampooning, and someone very exclusive to one of India's popular English dailies. Every morning, he sets out to tickle the nation with his wit and satire through his daily pocket cartoons, one-cut editorial cartoons on current politics, and satirical freelance column stories. He is cartoonist E. Padmanabhan Unni. He being a cartoonist on the widely read morning news daily in India, Unni's cartoons enjoy the breakfast table readership throughout the nation every morning. Whether it is a breaking news shooting in abruptly, or a political breakup surfacing suddenly, or even a social protest against government's bungling, political cartoonists go bananas and their reaction is almost instantaneous to every such occasion. Political cartoonists are a privileged lot in the newspaper establishments everywhere in the world. They are often viewed as an eccentric set of creative community that eagerly awaits a queer happening or a chaotic development during the day for their ideas to spark off and for their cartoon punches to let off, no matter whatever its impact may be. Editorial cartoonist Unni has his own reflection to this general public impression on his community at large.
Let me elaborate a bit. One of the turn of the century analysis on cartooning, uh, end of 1999, Doo Marley, an American cartoonist, wrote a piece called "The Editorial Cartoon is an Endangered Species," where he raised this point. He said, unless you are able to do fire in the belly cartooning, the kind of cartooning that was done in the US during Vietnam and Watergate days, there's no scope for that kind of a cartooning anymore, so cartooning is dying. I don't really agree with this. Cartoonists have, at least there are cartoonists who have been long distance runners like Herblock, Lakshman, Abu, lots of them, Rajinder Puri, lots of them. And they have gone through phases where there have been lots of dramatic news, there have been no news or less news. Well, a cartoonist has to take everything in his stride. And you can't, wait for chaotic things to happen for you to come up with a cartoon.
Political cartooning, as for Unni, is not just a routine job of lapping up the news from the communication posts and churning out a one-cut cartoon for the day. He considers that present-day cartooning by itself is a kind of news reporting as well.
Cartooning has changed in the sense that the concept of news reporting has changed over a period of time, especially with the coming of television. Television breaks news during the day. So in the morning, your reader is more news savvy than he has been before. This is one major change. Another change is that Delhi no longer makes all the news. The politics in the country has become multipolar. So there is some need for the cartoonist to travel and see what exactly is happening.
Does that mean the ways for a news reporter and a political cartoonist are almost similar now?
Yeah, but you can't put these things in watertight compartments. You see, it has changed over a period of time. I think it's largely late 80s with the coming of the Mandal, politics itself becoming polar, federal, and so on. You find so many state leaders determining who is going to govern in Delhi. We have had how many United Front governments have we had? Even today, we have entered we are supposed to have entered the era of coalitions. Single party governance is also to an extent become a thing of the past. All this has naturally changed the quality of news reporting.
Thanks to the advent of electronic age and its influence on multimedia communication systems, any news event in any part of the world can instantly reach the common man now. The editorial cartoonist was used to a 24 hours deadline in the past.
That is true. See, a paper like the Indian Express where I work today, it has a website. I mean, it's got a web. We've got a web edition. Also, we've got several editions happening. Early evening edition, in the sense that I mean the dark what's called the early city, and then the late city. So if something happens in between the editions, you go and update your cartoon. Also on the net, today we have the advantage if you happen to do the cartoon by afternoon, the net can carry it in a matter of another 5 minutes. If I send it from home on the net, they can use it the same moment almost. So these are all new possibilities. And you can change it over a period of time and during the day itself. If something happens that changes the course of events, you can update your cartoon, you can change your cartoon completely.
Does that mean it is possible and desirable now even to kill a cartoon already made on a day's event if any shattering news hits the world?
Yeah, September 11th was a day like that for us in India. The afternoon, the Samajwadi Party, Mulayam's party's MLAs in UP had resigned in protest against the continuation of the house. So we all made cartoons during the day on that and thought that the day was over. And by evening here, by evening Indian time, the WTC was attacked. So naturally, all of us went back to our drawing board and produced cartoon after cartoon.
This experience used to be a rare phenomena in the past, more so for the editorial cartoons.
Yeah, this kind of a thing has been quite frequent. You know, the need to go back to your table and do it all over again. Keep updating your cartoon during the day. Keep doing, killing an earlier cartoon and doing another one. This has become more frequent.
However, the pocket cartoons enjoyed the exception to this rigor.
Now, see, pocket cartoon and the display cartoon are very different in terms of form. How you treat the subject. But both can be political, economic, social, or whatever. The display cartoons are done we've got an edit cartoon once a week on Wednesdays as part of the edit page. And one or two display cartoons on Sunday and some other day if there is something interesting happening.
Indian political scenario is replete with a stream of political phases unlike in other parts of the world. For instance, Americans have just 5 or 6 phases to handle, whereas the cartoonist in India has to deal with 50 to 60 phases all the time, bemoans Uni sometimes. Familiarity is the key to caricaturing, and it is considered invariably as a part of cartooning itself, feels cartoonist Une.
Caricatures are certainly part of cartooning, very much part of cartooning. Caricatures can also be standalone. Caricature is nothing but the uh, portrait of a particular person, personality, recognizable personality, with a certain amount of distortion or elimination of detail or whatever. I mean, some comic touch is added. I mean, in very general terms, that's what a caricature is. When you're dealing with actual personalities, you need to put them into a cartoon, and when they get into a cartoon, they get into the cartoon as caricatures. That's one way of putting it. The point is that, see, it's not tougher. The Indian cartoonist has to deal, if he's a professional cartoonist with a newspaper or a magazine, and if he's into the business of bringing personalities into a cartoon, recognizable personalities, and he has to handle about 60 faces in a year. That's because of the sheer nature of our politics. Whereas we look at an American cartoonist during a presidency, during the term of a president like Bush or Clinton, he has to deal with the president, and these days with his wife, or perhaps the mistress, I don't know. And even the vice president hardly figures in many cartoons, and the Secretary of State figures. Also, there's another advantage there because of the wider spread and earlier spread of television. The readers, the viewers, are already familiar with these faces. So the way they eliminate detail and suggest the face with just a few lines is a luxury, again, that we in India can't emulate.
Coming to the types of characters one has to draw, Uni finds it rather difficult to say which one is difficult to draw and which one is easy for a caricature.
Something it's very difficult to say who was really difficult to. See, everybody will be difficult. See, some or easy. It depends. I'll tell you, I mean, this is from my experience. Narasimha Rao was extremely difficult to draw when he was a backbencher, when he was a HRD minister. One had to occasionally draw him, but somehow none of us got him. I mean, there was something missing when you drew the man. The moment he became the prime minister, he became extremely cartoon friendly. Same thing happened with Rajiv Gandhi. Rajiv Gandhi was such a handsome, fresh person. I mean, very uncomfortably young for a cartoonist to handle. And he was looking radiant, and he was had a charming smile and all that kind of stuff. We thought, how do you caricature a man like that? But then give a politician a couple of months, they will walk in and belong to a cartoon. They will do all kinds, which also partly depends on the public perception. You see, if a politician does a few things, the public will slowly distill an image out of his actions. And that's when a caricature works best. So it gets easier and easier to draw. As they make more and more mistakes, it becomes easier for you to draw.
Uni's day starts very early with his quick bite at the early morning tiding in print before he takes to jogging a bit to keep himself fit. E. Padmanabhan Uni, familiar to us as cartoonist Uni, was born in Palghat, Kerala in 1954, where he had his schooling. He obtained his BSc from Calicut University. Uni belonged to the post-emergency generation of Indian cartoonists. Having hailed from Malabar coast, his cartoons often came lashing as strongly as a hitting of the southwest monsoon. Uni's campus life had influenced him in shaping his cartoonist instincts. The political atmosphere in the country those days did play a significant role in turning his life.
1970s was when I was at the campus, and those were days when the campus was, most campuses in the country were politically surcharged. Vietnam, left radicalism, disillusionment with the government, higher expectations, unemployment, hyperinflation. All these contributed to an atmosphere of frustration and political activity, especially in Kerala and also parts of Karnataka, Bengal, and so on. So we were all very much part of that wave of political turmoil. And Kerala has all along had a background both in political activism in the campus as well as cartooning. So that is a very natural idiom of expression for somebody who was interested in cartoons. Somebody who was tuned into the politics of the region and national politics, and somebody who was interested in doing cartoons. It was a very natural option. Vietnam those days was closer to Palghat than Guruvayur was. Came as part of a certain awakening and awareness that was, propagated by the left movements, by the media. Media was extremely sensitive to these issues then. Those are the days of, those days being radical meant being left radical.
Surprisingly, Unni did not have any ambitions to settle as a cartoonist in life when his first cartoon appeared in print.
No, such ambitions were quite unrealistic in the sense that, how could somebody in a district town of Palghat have imagined that he would become a professional cartoonist? One never knew what a professional cartoonist was. No, we see, those days, many of us had no idea what kind of job would come our way unless we pursued a professional course like medicine or engineering. So sort of one blundered into a job. Those days, one could get into a bank as an officer if one wrote a competitive exam. That's how I became an officer in a bank. I was there for a year and a half nearly. And then Mr. Kasturi, G. Kasturi of the Hindu, was the editor. He was the one who offered me a professional job as a cartoonist. Hindu was a great learning experience. I was 21, and one was thrown into the midst of very senior leader writers, assistant editors. One hardly knew how a newspaper was brought out before one got a job. I had no formal training, either in journalism or in cartooning. That was a great learning experience. I was there for 12 years. One interesting thing that I learned there was the way technology evolved, which I think is very central to a cartoonist. Earlier on, they used to make blocks of, lead blocks of the cartoon and then print it. I have seen it. My cartoons were actually made into blocks and printed. From block making, it went into polymer processing and then into offset, electronic scanning and so on. So this is my most interesting experience into the way the paper upgraded technology and the way drawing, printing changed. So one had to, calibrate one's style, drawing style, to suit new technologies. That is a fascinating experience. Also, this whole business of commenting on what's happening around you, working for a multi-edition newspaper, working with colleagues, working in collaboration with the desk, these are things that one picked up in the Hindu.
For sheer impact, a nation's capital is the ideal place for a political cartoonist. And as an accomplished political cartoonist at a very early age, Unni aptly chose to shift to Delhi to explore his future as a political cartoonist. Over the years, he has not only upgraded his skills in his cartooning, but has equipped himself with the latest knowledge to use multimedia support to transmit his daily output. He now finds it convenient to operate from his home itself, rather more efficiently.
See, this cartoon is scanned, and some cleaning up is done on the Photoshop, and it's sent by modem to my office in Delhi. There they process it, format it, and then send it off to the editions. So I don't have to waste 2 hours driving up and down to my office, and I'm available here for any updates or whatever.
Unni is in Delhi for the past 15 years and calls himself an expatriate of Kerala now. Besides being a cartoonist, Unni is a prolific writer too. His nostalgia, maybe, for his homeland inspired him to do an elaborate sketchbook on Kerala titled Spices and Souls. This publication, penned in his own typical and witty style, duly spicing it with sumptuous dose of sketching exclusively done by him. Uni finds it as an experience of rediscovering his homeland afresh.
See, this book was actually a suggestion from my publisher, DC Books in Kottayam. Ravi DC, who runs the publication, he wanted to bring out a book of sketches on Kerala. Neither of us had any firm idea on how it will turn out. All that he wanted was a book of sketches with some amount of writing, either by me or by an established writer in English. So my fascination was certainly not because of any nostalgia. This nostalgia is a very tricky business because I left Kerala 25 years ago nearly. And I keep going there twice or thrice in a year. Point is that Kerala changes every 3 months to start with. And as I say, you can't step into the same Kerala twice. What I left behind 25 years ago is not what it is today, for good reason. And so the question of nostalgia today, again, because of technology, if you switch on TV, there are 4 Malayalam channels on TV. You will have to struggle to keep them from flooding your living room. And there is the phone. Today in India we are fairly well connected. We'll get better connected. So this kind of displacement that one used to feel, say 20 years ago, doesn't exist anymore. So that advantage or the luxury of nostalgia, I don't think I have about Kerala. Also the language publications are easily available and so on. But this gave me an opportunity, doing this book, gave me an opportunity to travel and see a great deal of Kerala, which I hadn't done as a student or as an young boy. In fact, some parts I had never seen before. So it's such a small state. There were many parts of Kerala which I hadn't seen before. Even now, after having done the book, there's at least one district of Kerala which I have not seen. Why not? It was a fascinating experience because Kerala is a very visual place. I mean, it is marketed as a visual place. It's also a great place for its distinct audio tracks, as you would like to describe it. There are very peculiar noises and sounds and sloganeering and music and all kinds of things that one can associate with Kerala. Visually, it's a spectacular place. It's a distinct place. It's a coastal area. It's been open to cultures. It had 1300 years ago, Islam came to Kerala, and the first church was built, I think, way back in the 1st century AD or something.
A connoisseur of classical Carnatic music, Uni finds time to watch a few films occasionally, but he finds it difficult to do so.
Delhi is not a very easy place to go around and watch a film. The place of distances, logistics, kind of working hours I have. It's not very easy to go and watch a film in the regular film halls. But Delhi has a fair amount of cinema. It's got its film festivals, special screenings and so on. So one gets to see good films here. I am not a very regular movie goer. No.
Une has recently toured Japan on a special invitation from the Japan Foundation, who are attracted by his social cartoons basically. His experience in the tour is an interesting story.
See, the Japan Foundation of Asian Cartoonists conference they used to have every year. They still have it. One year I was a delegate from India. I don't know how it happened, but I think they screen cartoonists in their own manner. They look at cartoonists and find out, heroine on cartoonists who react to a range of issues, not necessarily party political issues. And then they ask you to do a series of cartoons for the exhibition. They have a combined exhibition of all these cartoonists in various cities in Japan and outside, the host countries also. So in the year in which I went, the theme was environment. We interacted with the prime cartoonists from Japan, from the host country. Very interesting people like Kamakiri Ono, who's considered to be the best. And also we visited very interesting places, including some cartoon museums. Japan has a tradition of building museums for the cartoonists who are no more. And I particularly liked one they built for Dr. Tezuka, who's considered to be the father of Japanese animation also. Rikuten, Tezuka, these were interesting cartoonists whose museums we saw.
Oni finds that there isn't as much scope for social cartooning in India as it is for political cartooning.
Ours is still a complex political society. It's a very political society. So I think that's why we still continue to be more and more political. Even the cartoonists are political. That will change again, and that will change. More leisure cartoons will come, cartoons on games, sports, social cartoons.
For Uni, cartooning is no laughing matter. Yet, Uni feels it's comfortable being funny sometimes.